Activity 23 is just going to go on in different areas to emphasize this point. That quotation at the top about 2 wolves and a lamb, I don't know if this is a true quotation or not, but it illustrates the point that if 2 wolves and a lamb are voting on what to have for lunch, the lamb is going to be for lunch. So the 2 wolves here represent the majority, the lamb the minority. So this statement is pointing out at the beginning of Activity 23, for there to be liberty, the minority must be protected. There has to be, you have to find some way to keep the majority from violating the life, liberty, or property of the minority. We're not saying that the minority is going to get its way. It's good and right for the majority to get its way, but there's a line beyond which they may not cross, which is the actual violation of life, liberty, or property. That's the point of this activity. So in letter A, the right in question is property, that this is the basic right. The majority must not violate the property of the minority. If you have 99 people with ordinary incomes and 1 billionaire, you can't have a 99-to-1 vote and help ourselves to 3/4 of the income of the billionaire. That would be a violation of the right to acquire and possess property. And the Supreme Court here is pointing out that you would never join a society on condition, come and join our society and let us take your money away from you and give it to ourselves. It's always, the understanding is, come and join this society and government will protect everybody's right to acquire and possess property, every member of the society. Letter B may seem a little extreme. This is John Stuart Mill, a political philosopher, many different kinds of philosopher from the late 19th century in England, in the liberal tradition, the liberty-loving tradition. But his point is that if you're going to consider the first principles that he mentions of the whole purpose of government is to protect person and property, he's saying, and you don't need to agree with this, he's saying if anybody is receiving welfare benefits, say, from government, they should not be able to vote. Or if anybody's not paying taxes, they should not be able to vote. And the reason why is they will have no incentive to be careful about how money is spent. They'll have every incentive to increase government spending, and they won't care because they're not paying taxes, and they're just going to be the recipients. So he says that you don't want to give people the right or opportunity to put your hands in other people's pockets. So by letting people vote and have input into what government does, the danger here, he thinks, is that the majority is going to look at the minority and say, you pay for all the stuff the government does, and we'll just sit back and enjoy all of our benefits. And he doesn't like that, because that would be a violation of life, liberty, and property, or at least property. Letter C, this one is a repeat. We've seen this in personal liberties, but this is emphasizing that also in their personal liberties, this is a limit that, even though there can be some legitimate disagreement on where to draw the line, beyond a certain point, you're definitely violating the personal choices of people, especially as we saw in the area of freedom of worship. And majorities can't violate the personal liberties of the minority. And just to fully grasp that, you'd have to go back to Activity 13 and understand what that large area of choice is. And I'll just repeat, it's being able to do things that don't harm society and don't harm people. Letter D is just, again, emphasizing freedom of worship is a non-negotiable. This is an area of personal choice that the majority must not violate. So we've seen some limits on self-government, which are the majority must not violate life, liberty, and property of the minority, and also